I will share a couple of things that might make you think a little differently today, but really I'm going to try to focus in on some of the core foundations and fundamentals that a lot of people miss. I've also got a little offer for you at the end, so if you want to take advantage, feel free. But I do want to say a couple things first before I start. Who was here last year? So maybe you guys saw the talk, you guys shared on social too, so thank you for that. I have an opportunity to speak to landscapers all across North America. It's kind of like the main thing I do. And when Weston, at the end of last Contractor Summit, asked if we wanted to be participating again, without a hesitation, I said yes, of course. And there's a couple of reasons as to why I said that. The first one is a huge shout out to Weston and his team. You guys build a community, not like many others. Bringing people like you together. I heard there's somebody here from Oregon, like across the country, to join as a group to share with each other what's working, what's not, and learn from some pretty epic people. Hopefully you'll include me in that, list of people. I just think it's something special. There aren't as many as engaged groups as this one. And so I'm gonna do my best to live up to the expectation and walk you through a couple of ideas. Now, I did learn that maybe I have a couple more minutes, so maybe I can go a little bit deeper on some of these topics, and then I can walk you through kind of what it looks like working with us and like why we do it this way. I do have a video because I think it's better to hear from customers more than us in terms of what it is like to work with us, because at the end of the day, there's maybe some snake oil in this industry, but I'll talk about that in a quick second. So let's get this going. Quick backstory, just so you understand like who Rob Murray is and what it is that we're trying to accomplish at Intrigue. When I was 7 or 8 years old, I was in a pretty nice spot, lived in like a suburban 2,300 square foot house, lots of bedrooms, beautiful court in front. If you looked at it on the surface, it was pretty amazing. But something kind of odd happened, and when I was a kid, I didn't really understand it. It was only a little bit later, I looked back at it and I started to see the kind of everything was crumbling. But essentially, there was a night that was very vivid for me where my mom was boiling pots of water on our natural gas stove to put into a bathtub because our electricity was cut. And I didn't really get it as a kid, but I look back at it now and I realized my dad wasn't paying the bills. A couple years later, there's a lot of issues in the house. They separate, divorce. I'm 10, we get evicted. Get uprooted from where I grew up. At the time as a kid, I was like, this sucks. But it is what it is. So, I don't know what normal is, so I just got to keep living my life and whatever. So I'm with my mom. She's raising 3 kids, amazing human being. And so I'm doing like a bunch of different schools over a bunch of years, like 4 schools, 3 years, whatever. It's not a woe is me story. I'm just trying to give you some insight as to where it comes from. In grade 10, has anybody here ever heard of Junior Achievement before? Can't really see anybody. Yeah, Junior Achievement, pretty cool program. In our grade 10 class, we had the opportunity to start a business. That was essentially the whole class. So I ran for class president because I thought I could do a good job. Turns out the class thought the same thing, super cool. We decided to start a t-shirt business called Moo Moo Van Bugle. It might have been a poke at the teacher, but that's a different story. Anyway, if you've ever tried to sell t-shirts at a high school to other high school kids as a high school class, it's quite difficult. It's pretty much the epitome of not cool. And so we're like, how the heck are we going to deal with this issue of being the lamest t-shirt anybody's ever seen in their life? And so we struck up a deal with the principal at the time, and we said, hey, how about we sponsor some fire drills? They kind of agreed to it after some discussion, whatever. We didn't have to pay anything, but they wanted to support us. And so we sponsored 3 fire drills over 2 months. And so every time that the fire drill hit and all the kids left the school, this huge, football field, like stands, and then all our kids wearing from the class wearing sandwich boards, and it all said, Moo Moo Van Bugle, remember, we got you out of class. Now, turns out that kind of struck a chord, and people started to support our, $12 t-shirts because we were getting them out of class and maybe skipping a little bit. And so that was kind of like the first thing that hit me where I was like, hey, this marketing and sales thing is kind of cool. If you do it right and understand people, you can actually get people to engage. Now, the reason I really bring up the story is because a couple months into this class, my mom tells me yet again, we got to move. I can't afford to pay rent. We got to move in with another family. And now this time I'm 15, grade 10, and I'm just like gutted. And I'm just like, no, I'm not dealing with this. So I strike up a crazy plan to take all the t-shirts that we've produced at this class, go to a mall a couple blocks down from our high school, strike up a deal with a retailer to buy all of our inventory. So we're talking like 600-700 t-shirts. The guy kind of agrees to it, so I'm pretty pumped. I go back to my mom and I say, I got it figured out. I got rent covered. I'm gonna sell all the t-shirts from our class business and we'll pay for rent, about $1,400 at the time. So she's like, no, you can't do that. I was like, what? She's like, well, first of all, you're stealing from all your classmates. That's just not cool. And second of all, even if you did that, we'd only pay for one more month of rent. We'd have to move in a month. Like, this is not a good idea. That was kind of the thing that made me think I gotta be a lot different in how I approach the world, because I don't wanna be like this the rest of my life. I definitely don't want this for my kids, and I don't want it for anybody close to me. And that's where my brain started to think differently about how can I create wealth. The reason I bring that up is because the way we think is actually what creates the way we act, and I'm gonna talk about that in a second. Fast forward a few years later, I end up in Whistler, BC, pretty awesome place. Anybody ever been there? It's a mecca for snowboarding and skiing. Nature's amazing, the mountains are gorgeous. I'm working at Four Seasons because I've got this crazy notion in my brain that I will work at beautiful tourism resorts for the rest of my life, helping them sell their occupancy for conference rooms and travel the world. And so as I'm sitting there preparing tables just similar to this, I'm looking at my banquet captain as we're setting the plates and the silverware, and I say to him, I can't wait to be on the other side of this. Not just setting it up, but actually attending a gala in a Four Seasons property like this. And without hesitation, he says to me, you're in the wrong industry. That's just not what happens here. I've been working in this industry for 30 years. Never once have I been to a gala like this. And so without hesitation, I turned to him and said, I quit. And so I gave the 2 weeks. I didn't just walk out, but I quit immediately. I went to school and I was like, if this isn't the place for me, then I got to figure out where that's going to be. That turns into a story with Paul DeMarco, my co-founder, where we started a business in third year of university, and here we are at Intrigue. The reason I share this with you is because, well, I came from a place that wasn't like a wonderful spot, right? It's like, but I also believe that struggle builds resilience, and as we change the way we think about things, we can change the results of our lives around us. So this is a picture I share with you because I'm super proud of it. It's a dream come true. I didn't even know it was possible. I ended up having the opportunity to move to Costa Rica for 2 years, 2021, 2022, with my 3 kids, my wife, and my dog. Golden Retriever. Yeah, she came to Costa Rica. She loved it. But it was something I never thought possible as I was growing up. Just in that environment, that was kind of out of reach. I didn't even think about it. Like, I didn't think I couldn't do it. I just didn't even think about it. And so over the years that we've been working at Intrigue, we've been, fastest growing companies and all that kind of stuff, which is super cool. We've done over $20 million in sales. I've personally been responsible for it. We have over 100 landscape clients. Anybody here heard of the Mariani Premier Group? So they're private equity partnered with Mariani Landscape out of Chicago. They're rolling up what will be the largest residential landscape business in the United States to the tune of like $1 billion in revenue or more. If you've ever worked with private equity, you'll know that relationships really isn't a priority. Results, cash, and profit is really the name of the game. And so working with them, it's been sharpening our sword for sure. But we're the lead gen partner for their group. I've interviewed at this time almost 100 of the top leaders in the landscaping industry. I have a podcast called the I Am Landscape Growth Podcast. It's been an amazing opportunity to learn the industry from the best. And one of the things I found really fascinating as I started the podcast, I'd ask the same question over and over again. What is the primary growth constraint holding entrepreneurs back in the green industry? Every episode, ask the same question, different people. Started off, labor. There's not enough talent. Sales is tough. Leads these days, maybe a little bit. There was different questions or different answers from different people. But as I started speaking to the most successful entrepreneurs, it all became repetitive. And they always said one thing. The one primary growth constraint holding entrepreneurs back in the green industry is them. It's the leader. Growth comes between our ears. And then they start to explain how that works. And so we've compiled a lot of their answers into how we approach serving people like you. Our mission as a business is to create the gold standard in marketing that landscape entrepreneurs can trust to grow. Like I said before, it's not difficult to start a marketing company. With a laptop and an internet connection, I can essentially say to you, I own a marketing company. The issue, though, is that a lot of people are peddling a lot of garbage. And now you might see this in your industry too, when low price providers that have a truck and maybe a couple of pieces of equipment think they can compete with professionals that are doing what you guys were just talking about. It's just a different game. And so I wanted to just kind of help you reframe what this should look like so that if you're doing it yourself, working with somebody on your team or hiring another company to do it, you have some tools to be able to think about how you can make it more effective, because at the end of the day, it's meant to help you earn more money. So this is what marketing is. Marketing success is not, okay? So we see this all the time. The number one reason people inquire with Intrigue is social media. we need help with social media. I see social media all the place. I've seen my competitors, they're on social media. They're doing it better than I am. I know I need to do it. I don't have the time. Social media is really important. Now, this is true, and there's a lot of places for it. However, likes and comments don't necessarily turn into dollars, especially from strangers. Now, there might be some stories here where you've had a DM cold from a stranger come to you through Instagram and it turned into a $100,000 project. I've yet to find one. Does anybody have a story like that? Not yet, okay, so it's still true. It might happen though, I'm not trying to discount it, and there's a huge opportunity to use social media properly, and I can explain more about that. I'm here till tomorrow, just like you guys all. If you ever want to do a deep dive on any of this one-to-one, I'm happy to do it. Impressions and clicks, traffic, vanity metrics. If you hire somebody, so this is another thing that a lot of these top leaders really hit me. The other thing I've realized in doing this podcast, when they say the leader is the bottleneck, I just keep reminding myself it's me. And so our ability to grow our business is definitely going to be between my ears too. So I'm not, out of this, I'm part of it too. But what's really interesting is that it's really easy to hire somebody and tell them what to do. It's not easy to find somebody good enough that comes in and tells you what you need to do. And so there's a difference when we're hiring these people, paying them money to create an outcome that is typically unclear because there's no accountability or no clear goal. And so if we're not tracking, if we don't know what we're trying to accomplish, it becomes really difficult to make marketing work. So what does it look like? Marketing and sales is meant to accomplish a business objective. Is that cool? That's fair? Acquiring new customers is typically the number one thing people want. Some things people forget about but are also really important are engaging past and current customers to buy more, which is actually easier in most cases than actually acquiring new customers. Increasing your price, so finding a way to control margins and so you can become more profitable doing either similar or same work. Increasing the lifetime value of a customer. So long story short, if a customer comes and buys once and they give you 50 grand, okay, cool, you have a 40% gross margin because you're using SynkedUP, you know your numbers. That customer is worth 20 grand in gross margin. Now, if they buy from you again in say 2 or 3 years, we're increasing lifetime value of a customer. If we increase the average price, we increase the average lifetime value of a customer. It's just a really big, important part of optimizing what we call a revenue model. So really, it's about growing revenue, margin, and profit. And so this is what we would argue is the way to think about marketing and sales. And so if somebody is trying to say we're going to increase fans and followers, that's cool as long as it's secondary or tertiary to the idea of growing revenue. And so if we can start to think a little bit differently, we can start to hold people accountable to a higher standard when it comes to sales and marketing, you can get better outcomes. So it starts with a goal. We talked a little bit about this. We focus on acquiring new customers, engaging past, increasing price, increasing lifetime value. One of the things a lot of people forget about is where people are. And marketing 101, a lot of people overcomplicate marketing and sales, but marketing 101 is be where your customers are. Potentially you guys are all customers. So I'm here because this is where you are. It's simple. And sometimes we overcomplicate it. But one of the things a lot of people forget about when it comes to marketing, landscape, construction, design, build, hands up. Vast majority of the room. Okay, cool. $100,000 projects typically aren't decided in a 30-day period of time. So no one's sitting there being like, I should get a new backyard tomorrow. And then they look for everybody, and then they get a new backyard in 30 days. It does happen, it's just rare. A lot of people think about it last year or the year before. And actually, it's a question you can start asking people, how long have you been thinking about doing this project for? If anything, it's just gonna help you understand the buying process a little better. And so there's 3 stages if you oversimplify a buying process. One is, I've got a problem. So for example, I've got grandkids and they don't wanna hang out at my place, I wanna hang out with my grandkids. Or I've renovated the interior of my home and now the exterior just doesn't match up. Or I've moved into a new place, it doesn't look good. Or it's super hot and I don't have a pool. There's a problem. I got a giant puddle in my backyard and I shouldn't. What's up with that? So now I gotta figure out a solution. Do I wanna do this myself or do I wanna hire somebody? Now, if I wanna do it myself, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna research like crazy. Use tools like Google, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever. So now I'm gonna, okay, you know what? This is way over my head. I can't do this stuff. I'm gonna hire somebody. Okay, well, who am I gonna hire? Well, I got to go figure out who I'm going to go hire. I'm going to ask people for word of mouth references. I'm going to look at Google reviews. I'm going to look at Instagram. This is where buyer journey is really important when it comes to social media. One of the things people say to me, word of mouth is the primary driver of my business. This is true for most people. It's also true for us. It is a primary driver of business. That means you do good work for people and they refer you. Or someone sees you do good work and they ask somebody. One of the things that a lot of people miss though when it comes to word of mouth is that when I say, hey, who did your backyard? And you tell me, I don't necessarily get your phone number and call you my cell phone right away. Typically what I'll do is I'll go research you. I'll look at your Google reviews. I'll go to your website. I'll check out your Instagram profile. If it all lines up based on what I saw and what I heard, I'm gonna talk to you. So these tools are still really important to take the friction out of the buying process. Has anybody here ever seen 40-Year-Old Virgin? It's a good movie. Anyway, there's a scene with Jonah Hill, and he's trying to buy these shoes with goldfish in them from a store that's an eBay store. And he's like, can I buy these shoes? And she's like, I know it's weird, but you actually have to go home and order them on eBay. He's like, but I have this money and I want these shoes with these goldfish. I just want to go home and put them on in my living room now. She's like, I know it's weird. That's friction. And so what we want to do is take the friction out of the buying process. Then we want to be a solution people want to buy. And then how do we do that? If you were at my talk last year, one of the big ideas around this is that a lot of people think that it's all about you guys and your websites are all about you guys, but really customers don't care about you or me. They care about one of two things and two things alone. It's accomplishing their goals or solving their problems. The more we orient all of our content and the way we show up to help people do that, the more we can demonstrate trust. I'm going to show a QR code in a bit where you have the offer that I'm going to give you today, but it also has the talk from last year if you want to watch it. It goes through that principle in detail. So when we talk about people having a problem, what are we doing to help them? We talk about people looking for a solution, where are you getting found? And when they're looking to hire, are you there? Now, the hire part is typically what people design their content around. But buyer guides, as an example of like, are you thinking about redoing your backyard? Here's 10 key considerations you need to think about before you actually try to hire somebody. And you start to help develop a relationship with somebody maybe a year or two before they're actually ready to buy. This is Kyle from Second Nature Land Design and Pools. In a minute, I'm going to show you a testimonial video because I don't think you should hear it all from me. You should hear it from other people to see what it actually looks like to work with us. We'll see if the internet works. We'll find out in a minute. But this is the plan we created. So we do these wireframes that we custom build for our clients when they look for help to get more leads, essentially is what the conversation comes down to. You can see we have a top part of this thing about how do we get human beings to your website. In this case, it's search ads, organic, so SEO and ChatGPT search, because ChatGPT is actually starting to generate leads, which is crazy, but not shocking, I'm assuming. Google display ads. Who here uses ChatGPT every single day? Okay, yeah, cool. So 12 months ago, that question, there was 0 hands. Some people were like, what's ChatGPT? It now accounts for 9% of global searches, not necessarily local business searches, but global searches, which is a massive up from 0.1% 12 months ago or 14 months ago. It's a big deal. Google business profiles are like often understood, but not necessarily focused on. Does anybody in here have over 200 Google reviews? All right, no worries. That's your goal, just as a heads up. If you get 200 Google reviews, you tip. Google's just like, whoa, there's a huge trust signal. It's also a trust signal for any type of search engine, including ChatGPT and Bing. If 200 people give you a review of like 4-star or better, and your next competitor has 56, 17, you stand out really nicely. 200 is the goal, just as a heads up. Professional photography is super important. We can use stock, but it's only while we wait to get you real photos. And we got to build a website that's designed for conversion. So at the end of the day, the cost per lead goal that we had established and predicted to Kyle and promised that if we didn't hit, we'd work for free after 10 months if we didn't hit it, was $360. He ended up with 195 leads for $38,000. That gave him a cost per lead of $195. Boom. All right, happy guy. And we're happy because we're not working for free. But this is the power of clarity and goal. If you have a cost per lead goal and you're working with somebody, first of all, if they don't have one for you, it's going to be scratchy maybe at the beginning. But if you're like, no, this is really important, we're here to generate leads, eventually you get them to come around to the idea we need to track this stuff. This is Phil Dundas. He runs a company called The Landscape Company. It's an amazing name. They're in Santa Monica. He's an ex-lawyer from New York City where he felt like his soul was leaving his body. So he decided to get out of that and buy a landscape business in California. He was stuck in low-end maintenance, and he was doing all the work, taking all the calls, doing all the estimates, sending all the invoices, not necessarily doing all the work on the field, but supervising, making sure it's done well. First year, he went from 1.4 million to 2.5. This is the wireframe we designed for him based on the competitors he was against, his market and way people search for things, and what he had in place already. The goal for him was a $350 cost per lead. We ended up with $334. Whew. Still didn't have to work for free. That's a good one. He's pumped, and you can hear from him in a second. This is Dave Kerr from Kerr & Kerr Landscaping, and this is just a tool I want to show you about, like, okay, here's how it actually happens. When you're talking about all this stuff when it comes to measuring and having these goals, that all sounds great, but if I can't track it, how the heck am I going to know if I'm on track or not? So this is a sales and lead tracking tool that we've set up for our clients. We set it up maybe 4 years ago. It's an absolute game changer. This shows us how many leads came through, how many were quotable, what was the quote value, and what was the sales value of all those leads. What source did they come from? So in this case, it's showing cost per click. Were they any good? So in some cases, no. In some cases, yes. But over time, we refine them, and we see they start to get better and better. We can see it was a form submission. It came through. It was quotable. There was a sales value. It came from this person with this phone number, and it came from Google cost per click. In this case, you can actually see what campaign it came from. Design, construction, commercial. And so like we start to really understand what's working and what's not, so we don't have to waste our money.
You don't have to take it from me. Just listen to what our clients have to say.
How satisfied you are with Intrigue as a partner. 1, call the cops, we're robbing you of your money. 10, completely satisfied, great partnership. Where would you put yourself on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, 10. 100%.
Probably a 10.
Oh, yeah, no, 100% a 10.
If Mo gives you a 10, that means a lot.
10, solid 10, always.
I just have to keep giving you a 10. I know I gave you a 10 last week.
I felt as though your heart was behind what you were talking about, and it wasn't just some guy or some lady or somebody at a big marketing company trying to get me in. It was people coming from the green industry, which I really liked and appreciated. I know landscape, and I'm good at that. I don't know marketing. I tried doing my own Google ads and all that stuff. And I was looking for someone, and I found it in you guys, that could just run with it and say, Chris, this is what we need to do. Here's how we're going to go about it. And this is what it costs. And it was very, very simple for me. I'm super appreciative you guys have the wherewithal of these things to tell me what we need to be doing. Most definitely did what you said you would. You brought me not just a volume of leads, but highly qualified leads. And I think are helping to shape potential new clients' experience on our website and things like that in a much better way.
I tell you when I'm not happy, and I'll tell you when I'm happy. And your people have been doing a great job.
Thanks to your whole team there for the work that they're doing. And we're thankful that we saw a difference. You had told us that would happen, and you had promised us that. And it did.
If you're looking for an agency that is within the landscaping industry that really understands the nuances of the landscape industry, then I highly recommend Intrigue Media.
I probably wouldn't have half the jobs I'm looking at right now if we didn't do what we did with you guys. I guarantee it. And it's crazy because the leads that are coming in they're actually good normal leads.
So how's business going? How's everything been in the last little bit?
Listen, y'all are doing your job and getting us some leads. If I just could manufacture more hours in the day, we'd be in a better position.
Yeah.
So I just want to share this with you because, like, as we've been working with landscapers for, whatever, better part of 15 years and really niched down in the last 4 or 5, it's been clear that a lot of people have hired marketing companies and been burnt. And so, like, whether you hire us or not, we would love to work with you. But we're here for 2 days. So if there's anything you have questions about specifically, we'll do one-on-ones. We'll do a Q&A afterwards. I mean, lunch is coming, so I got to get out of here. If you do want to do a marketing action plan, which is how we essentially design the wireframes for these customers, we spend a 45-minute call doing a business review. Then we do an online audit of your business. We do this. You come back for 60 minutes to do what we call an A-client profile, so we understand the customer you want to go after, the work that you want to do, the competitors that you're up against, and essentially what you want to do over the next 2 or 3 years with the business to see if it's actually reasonable from our experience to accomplish the goal you have. Then we do a competitive and market analysis. We do a lead gen strategy based on other businesses like you. We do a sales and conversion process optimization audit. So we come back and say, here's where we found gaps in your sales process. We build predictions and a promise for you. And then you come back for 60 minutes and we present the findings. At that point, you decide if you want to partner. If you do, great. If you don't, it's totally cool. So this is just a summary of what I just explained. We typically charge $2,500 to do these plans. It takes our team anywhere between 15 to 20 hours plus to do them. We've been doing it for 15 years, and it's the same system we've used to scale businesses from 0 to over 10 million bucks. I really appreciate you guys. I want you to enjoy lunch. I want to get off the stage. Thank you so much.